A gente está hoje para conversar com o Nick Wyman, que trabalhou na produção original da Broadway, no elenco final dos Miseráveis. Ele fez o Thénardier, então ele vai contar um pouquinho pra gente hoje as histórias dessa produção antiga. Hi Nick, thank you so much for joining us today.
You're so welcome, Miriam.
So we want to know a little bit about your story with Les Mis.
I was part of the cast that came into the show. It had been running on Broadway for 10 years, almost 10 years, and they decided to sort of refurbish the cast, which meant for a number of people who were doing it, they were out of a job. And for a number of people who were looking for a job, there was an opportunity, and I was one of those people looking for a job. And I went to my agents and I said, any possibilities here? I heard there isn't. And they said, well, the part you're really right for, Javert, they already have somebody lined up. They're going to keep this guy. But they'd be interested in seeing you for Thénardier. So I said, okay, fine. And I went in. I knew the casting people because I had done Fantasma da Ópera for them. And I went in. I did audition for them, and they liked me and they cast me. And we went in. We had a sort of a gala reopening of the show for the 10th anniversary of Les Mis on Broadway back in 1997. And I stayed with the show for the remaining 6 years of the run until 2003.
So you actually had two of the biggest events in Les Mis history, so the 10th anniversary on Broadway and the final cast, the final performance.
I was part of both of those aspects of the show, yeah.
How was it for you to be, because you were in the cast for how many years?
6 years, a little over 6 years.
It's a long time. How was
2,500 shows.
2,500, that's more than I can even think of. I did see the show a lot. But so how was it for you to be part of, because the cast changed a lot, and even, for someone who saw the show probably in the last 3 years, there were constant cast changes.
That was a joy. That was one of the good things about it. I mean, people ask me, how can you stay in the show that long? But it always changes. I mean, you have, the audience is always new, because there are people seeing the show for the first time, people who've never seen the show, period. It's always new. And because the audience reaction is always different. It's also true that in a long-running show, people get vacations, and they're out and their understudies are on, or they get sick and their understudies are on. So it's almost always a different cast. And then, as you said, people leave the show and new people come in. So that was one of the fun things, was that there would be new Valjeans, new Madame Thénardiers, new folks to play with.
How many wives did you have on the show?
I had 3 official wives and a few understudy wives.
And when you did Phantom, you were in the original cast.
Yeah.
So you were in the creating the role here on Broadway.
In a sense, it had been done in London previously, and there was, they were absolutely willing to, let us explore and discover things, but the 3 leading roles, the Phantom, the Raoul, and the Christine, Michael Crawford, Steve Barton, and Sarah Brightman, had all done it in London. Mm-hmm. So they were recreating their roles with new people once again, and that was fun. I had a great time doing it.
And how was the difference of doing like an original part, and you've done many of those. We're going to talk also about Catch Me If You Can in a little bit. But going for a role that you're the first one to do it on Broadway, and then going to a role that other actors had done it before, did you get any inspiration for the performance, or how was it the creative process to build your Thénardier?
I think everybody wants to put their own stamp on something. I've been an understudy, and I have been a replacement actor, and those are issues where you need to really fit into the company as it is. You can't really sort of create the wheel anew. You have to sort of make sure that your creation, your characterization fits in with everything else that's going on. But when you're all developing it together, you can try things in the rehearsal studio, and the director can say, "That's terrible. Don't do that again." Or, "Well, that's great like that."
And that's a good thing about being able to do so many performances. You can play around and then try other things and then go back to the original form.
It's very true.
Now, Les Mis is a very dark and very long musical. And you had that tiny little part that was the comic relief.
I think it was a big part. Pay no attention to this one. It was all about me. It's all about Thénardier. I tell him.
It is a very popular character, but how was it for you to have the responsibility of actually being a comic relief of such?
It was a joy. It was one of my favorite roles I've ever done, in that it's a wonderful story. It's a wonderful musical, very moving. I mean, it's a great story of redemption. And I think it's fantastic. And the role of Thénardier is like the one funny part in the show. So the audience is like, oh no, oh, here comes the funny guy. It's like they are so glad to see you, and yet he's not a complete buffoon. He is someone with an agenda, and his agenda is fairly dark. I mean, he's a criminal, and he's not very happy. In the second half of the show, when 10 years after he sold Cosette to Valjean, he's convinced himself that he was robbed by Valjean. He is angry and bitter, and things have fallen apart for him. And so when you see him again in Paris, it's like he's a man looking to
Looking for revenge.
Yeah, exactly. And they often said in rehearsals that that Javert believed in an Old Testament God, and Valjean believed in a New Testament God, and Thénardier believed in no God. And it's one of the tripods, one of the the three pillars of the show is that is the point of view, one ultimately refuted by the show that it's all about forgiveness and redemption
And did you see the movie?
I did see the movie.
How did you like it?
I enjoyed it very much. I thought it was terrific. I thought it was a great rendition of the show, and I thought that they did a terrific job opening it up. I thought some things were so great in the movie. The students at the barricade, you really got a sense of these kids putting on a revolution and suddenly realizing, oh, we're abandoned. Nobody's coming to save us, and that we're doomed here. We're in this little cul-de-sac and there's no way out. People shut the doors, and it's like that was fantastic. There was also a wonderful moment where Hugh Jackman is pacing back and forth before he's saying Jean Valjean is nothing now, another story must begin. Where in the play, Jean Valjean rips off his thing and throws it in the air. The revolve starts turning. But in this thing, there was he bursts out of this little chapel where he is into this mountain sort of thing. You pull back, and there's this whole vista of the whole world now lies before you. It was just this the hair stood on the back of my neck. It was just great.
It's a whole different reading of what we're used to in the original production of Les Mis.
Yeah.
When you see the movie,
Well,
you actually realize there is more than the revolving stage.
Yes, indeed there is.
And so in the movie, they did a technique that was different than most movie musicals do. They filmed the songs live on scene. What did you think of that?
I thought it was great. I thought it was a terrific choice. I thought it really brought, there's all this chatter on the internet, and, the blogs and would-be critics about, well, I didn't think that was very good. I didn't think he sang very well. That was a terrible voice and all this sort of stuff. And if you were going to the show as you would go to an opera, expecting to hear the world's greatest voices sing this music, you would be disappointed, because they're very good voices. They're not the world's greatest voices, and they are acting their guts out. And sometimes when you act your guts out, you're not entirely, whatever. But I thought they were terrific. I thought, all in all, they did a great job with it. I thought they told the story beautifully, and I thought it was really, I thought it was great stuff. I thought Anne Hathaway was fantastic. I thought the Samantha Barks was a great ebony. I thought Eddie Redmayne was a revelation as Marius. I didn't know he could sing. He sang great.
I was surprised too.
And Hugh Jackman I thought was swell. I could pick things apart. I could quibble, but I think that's petty. It's like it speaks of of jealousy or something. That's not who I am. Not who I want to be.
Well, in general, it was a great movie.
Yeah, absolutely. It is a wonderful story, and I thought they did a great job with it. So.
Well, now Les Mis is a big movie. It was a huge musical on Broadway. Now it's a huge movie. So what do you think the future for the production is?
Cameron Mackintosh is planning on bringing the show back to Broadway for a third time next year, I think. So it will be back on Broadway, and it's interesting. I am the president of the Stage Actors Union in the United States, and so one of our concerns has historically been that we have felt that if people could see a show for free on their television or for cheap in the movies, they wouldn't pay extra money to go see the show on stage live. And it turns out not to be true. That when people see the show in a movie, they want to see it live. And it's happened with the movie of Chicago, which turned, this revival into this, decades-long hit on Broadway. Phantom of the Opera, which was sort of limping along a little bit before the movie Phantom of the Opera came out, and suddenly its box office went back to 100%. So it's something that, there's something wonderful and joyous and a visceral sort of emotion when you see something live. It's happening right in front of you, and you see the people go through those experiences. It's very moving, and people want that, and it's a
yeah. It's funny you mention this because Brazil is now the third country in as far as productions in musical theater. So they're not the same quality as Broadway yet, but it's still a great number of shows coming.
Why have you not brought me down there? I am available.
Well, we can work on it.
There we go.
So it's funny because when you talk to Brazilian audiences, what they want to see is the shows they hear about. So it's Mamma Mia, it's Phantom of the Opera. Well, some of them still think Les Mis is on Broadway.
Well,
so it's interesting to see that this whole movie culture is coming back to Broadway. And speaking of that, even when Catch Me If You Can was here, a lot of Brazilians, that was the first show they would go to because they knew about it.
Oh, okay.
So it was
Great.
a natural. They didn't have to think of the language. It was like, I know the story, so it's going to go on. So, speaking of Catch Me If You Can, you worked with Aaron Tveit, who was in the movie.
Absolutely right. That was a joy. That was the two big surprises for me in the movie was when they revealed the Bishop of Digne, who gives these candlesticks to Valjean to be Colm Wilkinson. It was the original Valjean, and
I started crying right there.
Yeah, me too. And then when I realized that the fellow playing Enjolras was my pal Aaron Tveit, I thought, this is great. I love it. Because Aaron is a fantastic performer, and a great voice, and a wonderful person. So I was delighted that he was in the movie. I ran into him at the SAG Awards a couple nights ago. It was good to see him. Yeah.
Did you give him any tips on the movie, on the musical?
No, hardly. No, he doesn't need any tips from me. No, he's great.
That's great. And so, are you looking forward to play in Les Mis again, or is that a chapter in your life that's over?
I don't know whether it'll come to pass again. I was when I did it on Broadway, I was the oldest person ever to have appeared in Les Mis, and now I would be really the oldest person. I'm well preserved, but I think I think I will probably leave it to younger folks to do. Though I love the show, and if it came to pass, I don't know.
Can you tell us a little bit about the final performance on Broadway and how that was to be part of it?
Honestly, it is. Any final show is always bittersweet. It is because it's saying goodbye to your family. You become very close to these people, and saying goodbye to the material that you've enjoyed doing properly, for a while, and you won't get a chance to do it again, perhaps ever. Certainly not for a while. And that's sad. But at the same time, almost every show, whether it's a semi-flop or a massive hit, the people who come to the last performance are the fans, the people who love that show. And they want to see it one last time, and so it's always a great show. It's always a great show. And we had a wonderful send-off, a great last performance, and a big party afterwards. And it happened to be my birthday, also the birthday of Kevin Kern, who was playing Marius at the time. So it was.
It was a big party.
Yeah, it was a big party.
It's a good way to celebrate your birthday with friends, family, fans.
Yeah, it was nice.
Now, you were in the show for 6 years, so you probably had a lot of lines and a lot of songs. Do you have any favorite lines or songs from the show? I know it's been a while, but when he's making the case to Valjean that he loves little Cosette too much to part with her. How can we bear to part with Cosette? There's that little bit that I can remember the first Valjean that we had, Robert Marien, told me, you should say Colette and say Cosette. I was doing this bit where I said, can we bear to part with our darling Cosette? I was looking as though I couldn't remember her name, and then I came up with it. And so I thought my bit was better. It wasn't.
then we tried his bit, big laugh. Oh, okay, well,
We
fine.
have a tradition to ask, you know, for usual, when we interview actors for musical theater, what would be their karaoke song? The go-to karaoke song.
My go-to. I am the bane of musical directors because I'm terrible at learning music, so I don't. I would. Oh man. Maybe On the Street Where You Live, just because I think I could do that without screwing it up too much. I played Freddie in My Fair Lady with Rex Harrison back in 1980, so I think I could pick that one up. But I mean, I'm not an adventurous karaoke guy. I don't know what beyond that I might try.
And who would you like to work with in the future? Like, what is waiting for you on stage?
I don't know. I don't know. I'd love to do Sweeney Todd. Sweeney Todd's fun, and don't really care who won. This Is Love It Is. And there are a couple Shakespearean things waiting out there for me. And also in terms of musical theater, I think there's a Henry Higgins in my future, perhaps. Who knows?
That's a good one. Thank you so much for taking the time to come.
You are so welcome. You are so welcome.
It was lovely. I was happy to get some of my curiosity of Les Mis out.
There you go.
Thank you.
Great. Thanks.
All right.